Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited for this next video in my Bitget series. I'm going to talk about how to find high conviction trades. Very simple way to do it in crypto. It can take some patience, but I think you guys are going to really like this strategy and be able to hit some high conviction home runs using it. Real quick, I would just like to shout out Bitget for sponsoring all this free YouTube content. Got tons and tons of videos talking about how to find trend reversals, make big gains, and trade safely with leverage or spot. If you want to try out Bitget, they have a mobile app. There is a link below that you can sign up. It's in the description, or you can go to Twitter on my pinned tweet and sign up there. And if you sign up using that link, you will get 15% off of your trading fees. They've added a disclaimer for US residents. So far, I still have been able to use it without a VPN. So I'll keep you guys updated if that changes. But they have tons of assets, altcoins, cross margin, isolated margin, and very quick withdrawals. Anyway, you guys, let's get into the content that you're all here for, talking about how to find high conviction trades to make easy profits. All right, you guys, so let's talk about this real quick. So we're going to look for high conviction plays, and in crypto, a lot of the market moves together. And so many times you'll find a laggard. And if you can find a laggard, that's going to give you a really, really high conviction play. And now a laggard is going to be in the same direction. So you can have outliers and laggards, right? And what an outlier means is that the rest of the market's dropping and you have all these crypto assets dropping, but you have one asset that is pumping. That's an outlier, okay? But what you have with a laggard is you have this asset pumping, and now this asset's pumping, and this asset starts pumping, and another asset starts pumping, and you have this other asset right here that is just going sideways, but it's showing similar signs that all of these other assets did before they pumped, or it's simply just lagging the market and the rest of the market is going in a certain direction, and you can take your bets on that laggard being the next one. And the key here is if you can find a pattern that's happening too across the market. Let's say an ascending triangle, okay? You got an ascending triangle and it's broken out on 5 different assets, okay? And now you have this other asset that's just going along and just sitting here, and it's really close to breakout. What do you think is going to happen, right? Most likely, it's going to follow the rest of the market and break out, and it's going to give you a very high conviction play that is generally more lower risk, and you're going to find a lot of success with these. Now, it does take patience, and you're not just guessing, and you might feel like you're missing out on some plays. But if you guys have been following me for a long time, you've noticed that when I do try to catch altcoin pumps especially, and now it does work with dumps as well, but especially when I try to catch altcoin pumps, a lot of times everything started pumping a little bit, and I'm kind of waiting for that high conviction or that home run play once I see that strength market wide. And then that's when we can get into that large position and, have a very high hit rate. So I'll reference a very old tweet that I've done in the past, how I trade market cycles for altcoins. I'm never the first one in. I'm never the last one out. I don't know when it's going to start. I don't know when it's going to end, but I know when it's happening because I'm waiting for those laggards and I'm waiting for that confirmation market wide. That didn't even make sense. You can get profit back. Yeah, that makes sense. You can give profit back. You can't get losses back. Now, technically, you can obviously get losses back, but anyway, you can give profit back in unrealized profits, which a lot of people do a lot of times. Now, I might not always make the best of exits, but I always catch a brunt of the move. And now if this altcoin, and we'll talk about this kind of little chart I made here, but if an altcoin pumps 100% and I only make an 80% trade out of that, I am not going to be angry at all. Okay. I never ever try to catch the full move, because a lot of times what happens is I try to exit up here. Let me rephrase that. What happens is you obviously want to exit right here at the top, right? What happens is it starts to drop and you're like, oh, I should have closed there. I had this much unrealized profit. I'm going to wait till it bounces a little bit so I can get close to that profit and then sell. And what happens? It just nukes, or it takes off and it never bounces like you expected or like you had hoped. And you end up, selling down here and giving back a lot of more profits because it starts dropping so fast or whatever. And I've had this happen to me way too many times in the past. So now I just like to get out when I feel like it's a good spot. And I feel like there's been, like a large push or a big candle or something like that. I'll start trailing a stop loss. And of course, I do have videos on how to take profits. Actually, I'll link it above here. There you go. So what happens is I'm watching for the altcoin market to start pumping. I'm looking for the market wide to show strength or potentially weakness, okay? Then when the rest of the market starts pumping, I enter after a little bit of upside. I'm not ever trying to catch the bottom. And market continues to show strength. I get along for the ride on my laggards. And I just get out anywhere, and the rest is history. Okay, so real quick, let's just throw up a couple assets here and with our compare tool and see what we can do. Let's do Ethereum, because a lot of times actually altcoins will follow Ethereum. So that's a good one to see, like if Ethereum showing strength or weakness, a lot of times the altcoin market will follow. Okay. And we can do Litecoin. Litecoin's been showing a lot of action lately. So let's throw that on here. Let's do USDT. And sometimes you can find correlations between these two. Like, now, is Litecoin an outlier? Currently, is Litecoin an outlier or is it a leading asset? We don't know yet, but that's worth monitoring, right, at this current time. Now, generally, when Litecoin pumps, it's actually the sign of a dump. And now this is kind of, okay, so Litecoin, hold on, so Litecoin's here, okay? And you can see here, Bitcoin, Ethereum are kind of doing nothing. And Litecoin pumps hard, and what happens? Proceeds to dump. Okay, so a lot of times when Litecoin pumps and Bitcoin doesn't pump, that actually is a negative sign. So worth keeping an eye on. It could just be an outlier doing its own thing. But over time, you're going to find these relations, and they're going to be right more than not. So interesting note here with Litecoin actually pumping and the rest of the market going sideways. Historically, as I mentioned, not the best thing in the world. So that could be something worth noting. And a market that's not necessarily a laggard, but that's just something worth noting as far as the markets go. We can look at Link. Let's throw Link on here. There we go. All right, we got Link in the yellow now. And now if we go back here to when the market was really bullish, okay, so notice how Link was actually the leading asset here, okay, and the rest of the market started to follow late on. So Link had actually started pumping here and showing strength where everything else was going sideways, and then everything else pumped, and it's kind of hard to see, but really, if you can really zoom in here, I don't want to mess this up, mess up the visual here. Let me get rid of this. But what you can see here is Link starts pumping here. Everything else goes sideways until about here-ish, where Ethereum starts to follow. Ethereum's our orange. And then Bitcoin starts to follow about right here. And then you could see that our blue line and Litecoin starts to follow about here. So, and actually this is kind of what we had done last year, is we got into Litecoin as a laggard in the market. I remember starting to load up on it because everything was taking off. Link, Ethereum, everything was pumping, and Litecoin was still just kind of going sideways here and consolidating. And that ended up being a great laggard play, a great high conviction play. Again, I mean, this is clear signs of some strength being shown in the market. We were seeing bullish signs across the market, I'm sure, with other altcoins as well. Let's look at Crow. Excuse me for technical difficulties. Heavens to Murgatroyd, what's going on here? Let's go Uniswap. That was a good one. That was one I made a lot of money on last year. So I don't even know if this is really a laggard, but we're just going to look at it for fun. And actually, let me get rid of these because we're going to have a good example on, I believe, ADA. as laggards for the drop, and Matic as well. So what you can see here is that this is Matic, I believe. Look at the rest of the market starts pulling back here, okay? You can see that pretty much the whole market starts pulling back here. What's Matic doing? It does a little drop and then takes off, okay? So that was a laggard. The rest of the market was just, I mean, we had entered a technical bear market. Rest of the market is bearish and starting its drop. Matic soon follows. It basically FOMO'd. And the key here is you could actually have waited and not just FOMO'd the top. You could have gotten a very high conviction short play, and I actually have some really good videos for that. I have a video on how to short leg Gooner, and I also have a video on how to spot scam pumps in bear markets. So I will also link those above. But you can get those really high conviction plays here as laggards, and you're going to be able to make some really usually quick gains because those laggards usually catch up pretty quickly. And you can see here just how quickly this really caught up. And this is where, you know, people were probably calling top on it, and who knows, maybe I was too, but people were probably like, this is the top is in as everything's dropping, and then it takes off, and this is where everyone goes, ha 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 ha, you guys are idiots, you shouldn't have sold. I'm buying more here. This thing is the new Bitcoin. It's gonna take off. Like, and you know, this is when like all those YouTube influencer guys with the open mouths are going, oh, you know, and they're like, I'm longing $10 million right here. You get the point. And then that's when it just, like, whenever anyone gets super cocky about an asset that's pumped a ton, that's probably the top or close to it. So that's when I start tightening my stop losses and things like that, or maybe shaving a little profit. So, but yeah, so that's one example. A lot of times you'll see cup and handles is a very good bullish pattern. Guess what? I have a video on that too. Okay, that's actually a really good video. You guys should watch it, definitely. After you're done watching this one, of course. Okay, but basically cup and handle. All right, if you see a ton of assets doing this pattern and you just find the laggard, and you know, if 10 other assets just break out of this pattern, this one's probably going to follow, right? Or V recoveries are a good one. Sometimes you'll see an asset do a V recovery. So you'll see an asset go boop, V recovery, bam, take off, right? And it retests that support, and you have other asset, and it'll just be taking off and flying. And you have other assets that are just right here. You have another asset, because you don't want to FOMO, right? Like, you don't want to FOMO up here on this one. You're looking at this chart right now, and you're like, oh, this is taking off, I want to FOMO. No, you don't. You don't want to FOMO. You're going to wait for and find another asset that's delayed, that's a laggard, okay? So you're going to go through other charts, and you're going to find something that's like, oh, this thing's right here. Let's see if it breaks out and retest, and then I can get in. Okay, so I hope that clears it up for you guys on how to find laggards. I wish I could have found a little bit more examples, but it's hard to go back and find them. But I'll keep posting them and sharing them on Twitter. And I hope that this helps you guys identify them in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you're still here, I really appreciate you catching the whole thing. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Message me in the comments below if there's any content you'd like to see, or you felt like I missed anything and you have further questions about this topic. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace. Do you have any more gum?